Everybody, happy Thursday. Hope you're doing very, very well and your week is shaping up quite handsomely and that you're making fun plans for the weekend. So I wanted to talk to you about the philosophy of, being right and being wrong, right? Because you have this whole argument, and it's not really an argument as much as it is a state of existence of accuracy versus expectation. And so I think when we come out of school, we're used to being graded on our accuracy, right? How well did we write the paper? Did we prove our points? Did we write the paper clearly? Did we use good data? Did we cite the right sources? Did we even have enough sources, right? Then you have true false quizzes, fill in the blanks. Then you have tests, midterms, finals, the whole racket. Then you might have class participation. You might be graded on attendance, which I always thought was curious. Like, you get graded on the discipline of being able to get on class on time without having lates. I guess that's good for, I don't know how predictive it is going forward in your life, but teachers feel like it's important that maybe it's about you showing them respect to show up while they're speaking. I don't know. So when you think about trading, though, you have to kind of get used to a whole other way of life because it's not based on accuracy per se. You need a certain degree of accuracy, but what you also need to know is the relationship between what your winners and losers are. We call this mathematical expectation, also known as expected values. And the thing that I had to learn to deal with and come to contend with coming out of an Ivy League school, again, where I had eventually, like I said, 4 Nobel Prize winning teachers in economics. I had a couple when I was there, and Mundell won it after I had already gone, rest his soul, is that you have to take chances, which means you have to have a certain emotional constitution. You also need to have the capital. And in there, you need to negotiate with yourself and determine, usually through trial and error, what your risk unit is. That is, how much are you willing to lose on any one particular trade, with the frequency with which you'll lose, you see? Now, at the beginning, you don't really know any of the winning stuff because you haven't put any trades on. You might have simulated, but you don't really know. And so I had to learn the idea that when I put on trades, I'm going to be wrong. And then also not have the judgment that goes with that coming from a hyper-academic place, you see? And so I don't think I'm the only person who's ever said this. I don't know who. I can't say that I've coined it, but I know that it's something that I live with and that I say to myself all the time, even to this day, and that it's okay to be wrong. It's just not okay to stay wrong, you see? And that lets me forgive myself in a certain way of speaking from having to worry about the paper cuts that you take when you have to add risk to your portfolio, because you can't win if you're not in it. Right? No one cares about your opinions. The minute you're bullish, the minute your buy stop gets hit and you add length to your portfolio. So you can't talk about being bullish on on gold and not have a gold position. Doesn't make sense. You're bullshitting yourself. Right? And that's something that I would say to your face. Like if we were talking like, hey, I'm bullish gold, or how many risk units that you have on? None. Well, shut up. You're not bullish then. And what do you care, about Jack Flaherty going to the O's and any of that stuff? It's just all garbage talk. It doesn't mean anything. I like Jack Flaherty. I met him a few times in LA. Super, super great person. I think he's going to do well there, by the way. Now, so then let's put this into action. It's okay to be wrong, but it's not okay to stay wrong. Where do you think you're absolutely wrong, right? If you're looking at a chart, where do you know that you're absolutely wrong, right? On the chart, after you say you've gotten long. Say you bought any particular instrument at a price of 25. Where do you know you're right? Where do you know you're wrong? And right and wrong doesn't mean it's because you're an idiot and you've done bad analysis. We talk about being wrong is a catchphrase for bad luck, bad timing, and perhaps bad analysis. So any of those 3 things meet the criteria for being wrong. And so while it might not be your fault that you have bad luck or bad timing, it is upon you to know where to protect your capital. So in that space right around 25, you can start to feel that you're wrong, perhaps at $24.99. Now, that might not mean a lot to you, but the trade is certainly going against you if you're long at 25, right? If that's par. So then there's a certain point where you say like, okay, I'm wrong, and there's a general neighborhood of of being wrong. Where at what point do you know that you can no longer tolerate being wrong? What's the ultimate amount of space you're willing to give the instrument while you're in that potential wrongness, that literal wrongness, before it's time to cut loose? And that's typically where you put your protective stop, right? I don't care what the number is, say it's 24, right? So you have varying degrees of bad luck, bad timing, bad analysis between your entry and your protective stop. And the closer that you get to 24:20, 24:15, you have higher degrees of bad luck, bad timing, bad analysis. And at 24, that's the price where you're willing to transfer that instrument to another person who's willing to take the risk on at that point, right? That's the whole point of having stops, is you get to transfer the risk to somebody else who's willing to take it. And you're very grateful for them to be willing to take it there. Yeah, take it, bitch. So at the end of the day, there's nothing wrong with being wrong, especially when you can just take it and quantify what that means to you financially. That typically starts with knowing what your R is, or a risk unit, and that typically translates not to dollar signs, but to a percentage of your overall capital in your account. So this way, if you splice up risk units into, say, 0.1%, you've got $1 million, and you're wrong because of bad luck, bad timing, bad analysis, or any other random act of God, force majeure, and you're wrong a whopping 10 times in a row, you still have solace that you have 99% of your starting capital. Now, that works with your starting capital, your starting grub stake. If you're up to 1.2 million, and now your risk unit is $1,200, 0.1%, the same thing holds. So this way you don't become emotionally invested into the dollars and what you could have done with those dollars had you not lost the money, right? You're thinking in percentage terms, right? And I want to say it again, like we talk about the willingness. Do you have the will to do it? That separates winners from losers. You can all have really good ideas and really good plans, but what's the relative strength of your will to actually get into the game and do it? People have goals, but they're oftentimes reticent or afraid to actually step into those goals because they don't know all the steps. We advocate and we coach, just get started. You'll figure it out along the way. That's part of the coaching. And you have to have a certain emotional constitution to do that. So think about your willingness to be in a trade. You have to be willing to put the risk on, and then you have to be willing to transfer that risk to somebody else when the trade is clearly not going for you for any particular reason. And that point is typically at your protective stop. Now, say you're on the right side of the trade because of good luck, good timing, or good analysis, and your 25 becomes a 32 number. Then you have to say, okay, I have, I'm up 7-1, right? My R was 1. I'm up 7. How much of that 7 am I willing to risk in order to stay in the trade? Because 7 becomes 10. 7 stays at 7 the minute you cauterize things and you have that hair trigger response, that premature response that men have, right? Talk about delayed gratification. If you remove the risk, that number now is locked in. There's nothing wrong with it. And maybe if you haven't had a 7-1 kind of winner, that might be good to experience after the fact. But I know one thing is you're never going to have a 10-1, a 15-1, a 12-1, a 9.75 if you always take off your winners too soon. So you can determine that ahead of time and say, okay, well, when I get at 7-1 and the thing's at $32, where do I know I'm on the wrong side? At 31.99, 98, 97. So you get to determine in advance, even before you've put the original trade on at 25, at 32, when you're plus 7, what were you of your existing 7 are you willing to risk in order to be into the trade so that you can take it to 35, 37 and a half? Think about that and then manifest it. Because if you don't think about it and you don't manifest it, I can assure you this, and it's absolutely true and it's universal. It's never going to come up and kick you in the ass. You're not going to get it. You have to want it. You have to be ready for it and prepare for it. You might even go so far as to write out the order tickets so that you see them. You take out some blank Post-it notes, make believe they're trading tickets. Buy X amount of units of XYZ at 25 on a stop. Then you say, if I get filled, here's my protective stop to remove all of the inventory at 24 on a sell stop. Then if it goes to, say, 30, I'm going to cancel my 24. I'm going to raise my protective stop to 29, and I'm going to let the trade run. If I get knocked out, I've had a 4-to-1 ratio. That ain't half bad. And visualize it. Visualize yourself sitting at the screen and not taking that hair trigger response. Envision all the feelings that you're going to feel. How exhilarating is it going to be that you were already in the winning trade and that you would have walked away with a 3-to-1 like a loser, right? Because if you were in a 3-to-1 and you took it, but it could have gone to 10-to-1, you're a loser because you left the majority of the money on the table. Don't mean to say it that way, but who else is going to tell you this? And this is all the stuff that I have to think about, right? So welcome to my world. Don't fall in love with taking small gains. You'll always be a small timer. I know the water's cold, but don't live your life that way. There's a lot more to it. Anyway, willingness. Are you willing to feel all the feelings that you could possibly feel? And once you're willing to do that, you have no idea how this world is going to open up for you. As always, I appreciate your comments and this and that. If you want to think about joining the group, reach out via email. I can tell you a little bit more about it. It might become something ongoing. I'm not quite sure because usually that's just a function of how much time that I have. But maybe I'll talk more about it tomorrow or the next day. Anyways, please like and subscribe. As always, I appreciate your comments. You can send me them privately via email if you don't care to go public with them. No problem. Thanks for being here, folks. I'll see you tomorrow. Okay, everybody, thanks for being here. Please take a minute, like and subscribe to the show. You could also leave a comment. I don't have all the answers, so it's good to get some feedback. Also, if you would like to support the show, check out the links below. You can get the free audiobook of The Inner Voice of Trading, and also information about the course that I teach with Victor Sperandio. Thanks for being here, folks. I'll see you tomorrow.